Hey there, I'm supposed to write a 500-word essay on the history of various lands, but that seems like a lot to read, so I figured that if I cut the fluff by only writing 50 words, I could save my teacher's time and get—
Gray, black, and green. Hold it in your hand, it's Mario Land. Super Mario Land was one of the launch titles for Nintendo's great battery-guzzling brick, the Game Boy. You run through different levels, eating mushrooms, stomping baddies, you know, standard stuff. But this game really changed up the Mario formula, like really did. Instead of saving the ruler of the Mushroom Kingdom, Princess Peach, from the evil Koopa Bowser, you're saving the ruler of Sarasaland, Princess Daisy, making her debut, from the evil alien Tatanga.
Now then, without further ado, let's finally start— and I'm done.
Yeah, the length of the game is probably its most polarizing aspect. Whether you're a new or experienced player, the average playthrough will clock in at about half an hour. Imagine paying $30 to $40 for a game you could finish during the car ride home from the store. Actually, you know what? It's kinda poetic, since the length of the game matches the price. I personally think its short length is one of its stronger points. It makes it fun to speedrun, and is a great way to kill time. You could play it while trying to fall asleep, while cooking, or, you know. Okay. I think we're moving too quickly. Let's back it up a little bit. Super Mario Land plays like your standard Mario game. You get from point A to point B, going through different obstacles and dealing with a whole host of baddies, but since we're in a new location, a lot of what we face is new. And weird. But there's an explanation for that. This is the first Mario game to be made without Shigeru Miyamoto's involvement. Instead, development was led by Gunpei Yokoi, who actually created the Game Boy itself. Miyamoto was known for keeping Mario under a very certain image, and if he had been involved in the project, we definitely wouldn't have had a game as unique. I mean, we got things like running Easter Island heads, flying chickens in a shooter section, and hopping zombie dancers. Even the pre-established stuff is different. The flower returns, but it's no longer the fire flower. Instead, it's the super flower, letting you shoot a super ball. You want to joke about that? Too bad, I'm not creative enough, let's move on. I think it's a fine enough weapon, but it's a far cry from the standard fire flower. With the fire flower, you can throw 2 balls at a time, and if they don't hit anything, they'll disappear after a few seconds. But with the super flower, you throw 1 ball that goes all over the place. Now this may seem like a good trade-off, but if the ball misses its target, you can't throw another one until it disappears, but it takes like a million years for it to do that. Oh, and also the Starman plays the can-can. Now mind you, different isn't bad. In fact, I think the oddities help give this game more of its own identity, and identity it has. You don't go through the lush, rolling hills of the Mushroom Kingdom, but instead the palm trees and pyramids of the Birabuto Kingdom, the hills and water of the Muda Kingdom, the rocky terrain and Easter Island heads of the Easton Kingdom, and the bamboo and perilous jumps of the Chai Kingdom. You don't touch a flagpole at the end of each stage either. You enter a door, and if you enter the top one, you play a bonus game that gives you a chance to earn extra lives or a power-up. The game only has these 4 worlds, and they're comprised of 3 levels each, meaning that the whole game is 12 levels long. That doesn't really matter too much though, when these levels have some of the tightest platforming. Like, I think these are some of the funnest levels in the whole Mario series. Not only are they just generally really fun and well designed, they also have enemies and obstacles that are really simple to understand, and while lacking in challenge, make up for it in enjoyability. The bosses though, they're not like the stages. They're too easy, and kinda lack substance. You can jump over it, or jump over it, or shoot it, or shoot it. These stages are accompanied by some of the best tunes from literally any game ever. It was composed by Hirokawa Tanaka, who you might know from things like the Dr. Mario and Mother series, and his work on those games was good, but his work on this game is wow. I'll never understand how he made a bunch of 30-second music loops sound so incredible. I really like the Muda Kingdom's theme and the credits theme, which is some of the catchiest music I've ever heard. 2 of these levels, 2-3 and 4-3, put you in a submarine and airplane, where you can move around freely and shoot at things. These levels are surprisingly pretty fun, and are a decent change of pace from the rest of the game. Speaking of these vehicles, you fight the final boss in one. When you get there, you learn that Tatanga is actually a cloud that spits chickens. When you beat the cloud, Tatanga reveals himself and shoots the same projectile that splits into 3 while moving up and down. Once you take him down, you finally rescue Daisy, and then leave on a plane that she could have just left on, okay. Super Mario Land offers a really fun time, along with good music. Princess Daisy has become an interesting character, but I can always appreciate world building, and the game is definitely worth playing, despite its simplistic presentation.
Well, I normally end things here, but this review is kinda short, so we'll cover the sequel.
The first Super Mario Land was successful, to say the least, so the creation of a sequel was seemingly a no-brainer. 3 years later, in 1992 in Japan and North America, and 1993 in Europe, the game came out. This plot is something. While Mario was off in Sarasaland saving Daisy, Wario, making his debut, breaks into the castle that Mario was so well known for, and takes over the land that Mario was also so well known for. When Mario returns, he discovers this, and sets out on another quest to take back his land and defeat Wario, and in order to do this, he has to collect the 6 golden coins protected by his henchmen. When starting the game, you're thrust into a world map like in Mario 3 in World, but you're given the freedom to play any world in any order, which was pretty progressive for the time. I can't think of too many games for that time to let you do that, but because you can start from anywhere, the levels can't gradually get harder per world, but instead just harder the further into a world you are, and this causes the game to be pretty easy. The levels themselves are good though, and structurally at least, feel more like a regular Mario game. The themes are anything but regular though. The worlds, dubbed zones, are very unique theme-wise. There's the tree zone, which sees you scaling a, well, tree. The space zone, which sees Mario going into space before Mario Galaxy made it cool. The macro zone, where you go through a normal-sized house as a mini-man. The horror-based pumpkin zone, the turtle zone, where you get eaten by a giant turtle and end up on the other side, and the Mario zone, where the level in his crotch is full of balls. All of the levels match the world's themes well, and have enemies and gimmicks that are fitting. The monsters and mechanics are a nice blend of common and odd things. Like, there are standard grass levels, Goombas, and Koopas, but there are also bears on big beach balls, boxing sharks, and a stage made of Legos. Just from a quick glance, it's very clear to see that this game takes inspiration from Super Mario World, which was the most recent Mario game at the time, so that's fair. Because of this interesting inspiration, the sprites are much larger than before, which means there's a slight hint of screen crunch, but the levels are built with this in mind, so it's all good. There was really only like one instance where I died to screen crunch. This time around, Mario has the spin jump from Mario World, which is almost like how it was there. You can break bricks you land on, but this time you can't use it to jump on spiked enemies. I mean, there weren't that many of them, but, you know, I would have liked the option. It's also mapped to the down button instead of the A button, due to the Game Boy's lack of 4 face buttons. It doesn't really feel natural, but there wasn't much that it could be assigned to on the Game Boy. Like before, Mario goes through a door to finish the stage, but this time, there's only one door, and you enter a bonus game if you hit the bell at the top. The bonus games offer the same things, but the games themselves are different, being either a wire-cutting game or a crane game. The power-ups are different too. The Mushroom and Starman returned, but the Super Flower got the axe, being replaced with the tried-and-true Fire Flower. I'm not bothered by this change. There's also a new kid on the block, the Super Carrot. When Mario eats it, he turns into a Playboy bunny. As Bunny Mario, you can float by mashing the A button. This may seem kind of unnecessary when things like the Super Leaf and Cape Feather already exist, but you better believe the bunny ears have them beat when it comes to air mobility. Mashing the A button causes you to float indefinitely, which can break a lot of these levels. I'm really disappointed that the Super Carrot never returned. Like, I really liked it, but I understand why it hasn't. The music in these levels is good, but not as good as last time. This time around, it was done by Kazumi Totaka, in one of his earliest roles. You might know him from games like Yoshi's Story, that he's actually the voice of the character, or because of Totaka's song, a little jingle that he hides in the games that he works on. All of these songs do that thing where they're variations of one main theme. This can be done well. I mean, Mario World does this and the soundtrack turned out great, and I think this game does it well too. I'm personally quite fond of the treetop theme. The bosses in this game are definitely better than the ones in the first game, but are still pretty easy. There's a big rat, a witch, an octopus, Tatanga? Why are you here? We just beat you and your entire army, and now you're working for Wario. I mean, I guess desperate times call for desperate measures. Once you defeat all of the bosses and get all of the coins, you can enter Wario's castle. After getting through a level that is really harder than it needs to be, you face Wario himself. He stomps on the ground and tries to get hanging lights to fall on you. Once you stomp his head in, he runs off and decides to use your power-ups against you, which I'm always a sucker for. I love it when the villain uses what the good guys have been using. After one final stomp, he becomes a balding midget, throws his shoe at you, and then... suicide, my favorite. The castle kinda just vaporwaves back to normal, and the game is over. Super Mario Land 2 is an improvement over the first game in many ways. It's longer, offers more challenge, and has the superior art, but I think I enjoy playing the first game more. It's a very odd thing. I think Mario Land 2 is the better game, but I would still rather play the first one. Don't get me wrong, Mario Land 2 is totally worth your time and money, but Mario Land 1 has something going on that the second game just doesn't. Maybe it's a certain charm, maybe it's a certain enjoyability, I don't know, but the point is that the game is great and is a worthy sequel and Mario game.
The first two Mario Land games are some of the best platformers you can find on the Game Boy, and I think are also some of the best games 2D Mario has to offer, which I know is a very high honor, but I think they do enough to justify it. Good controls, great music, engaging ideas and level design, and just a general uniqueness that make them feel refreshing when compared to other Mario games, even the ones released today. I mean, in what other Mario game will we see boxing sharks? The games are definite pickups if you haven't played them already, or if you're just looking for some fun, classic Mario action. I also think they're more important to the series than people give them credit for. They both introduced staple Mario characters that then led to the creation of other beloved games and characters. I mean, without these games, we would have never gotten Baby Daisy.